Greetings, I'm Dr. Kelly Vance. I'm a professor of geology at Georgia Southern University, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about industrial minerals, something we use every day. You may not be aware of it, but extremely important. When you think about minerals in Georgia, you may think back to times in the 1800s, for example, the Dahlonega Gold Rush and precious metals, but Georgia's claim to fame today is actually in industrial minerals. And these are the minerals that basically supply the raw materials that go into manufacturing all kinds of products that we constantly use. So I want to give you a little touch of that. Georgia is a leader in industrial minerals, one of the major producers in the United States. Our first one we have here, you see this big white rock, the pieces of it just fell off here. This is kaolinite, or simply referred to as kaolin. It's composed of the mineral kaolinite, which is a clay mineral. And this type of mineral is composed of little microscopic sheet silicates. They look like micas. And it's worth about $1 billion a year to the economy of Georgia. It's exposed along the eastern side of the fall line, which runs from about Macon to Sandersville to Rennes and then up toward Augusta. And they're part of old coastal plain deposits of sediment. Now, what do we do with it? Okay. It's this brown paper towel that you dry your hands with. Okay. It's great for soaking up water, but terrible for writing. Okay. Your paper products are mostly wood fiber material. So if you want something that you can write on, you have to apply some kind of coating to that, and we do some more bleaching to make it useful for writing. Okay? So to get it to this kind of quality, okay, for writing or typing, we pulverize that kaolin, and the individual little grains are microscopic, but they look a lot like this. This is a mica, which is another type of sheet-shaped mineral. And when we pulverize that white rock, we clean out all the impurities, the grit and the other impurities in it, and they convert it into a slurry. And that slurry coats your paper with these little plates, because they're microscopic in size, not like this, but it has the same kind of shape. It allows you to write on it. And they use that for coating paper, also for making glossy publications like this Nat Geo magazine that you see here. The stuff the industry calls board, that's a type of material you see on your cereal boxes with a slick surface. A lot of kaolin goes into that type of material. It also has other uses in making ceramics, for example, and fillers that go into products like paint. Now, if you want something that's really high quality for printing on, that is, for producing something like this, poster paper material or very high quality images, you want to increase the opacity, that is, keep the light from shining through that material and make the material even heavier and slicker to make these types of prints. So you can take another material that's mined in Georgia. This little vial contains sand, okay, that's concentrated from old beach sands. And they have mined this in Georgia and also down into Florida. Now, if you notice, this stuff is black. Okay, so you really wonder, why would you try to make a white paper with that? Well, if you pulverize this to a powder and you digest it in an acid and then you reprecipitate it, it comes out as this brilliant white powder like this. And it's another form of titanium dioxide. So the original mineral is called ilmanite. It's an iron titanium dioxide. When they process that, they produce another form of pure titanium dioxide. And this material is the preeminent pigment that goes into all your white products, whether it's paint, plastic, countertops, flooring, ceiling, paint, anything like that that you use white pigment in. That's the primary use for titanium. You think it might be for grandma's hip replacement, but it's actually into paint, or 98% of our titanium dioxide into paint. So you can add that onto your kaolin to make those really glossy types of publications. All those resources come out of what we call coastal plain deposits in Georgia along the eastern part of the state And those are old marine deposits and nearshore deposits. This is another product that comes out of the coastal plain. It's composed of little fragments of fossils, and this is a limestone. Okay, so we call it a fossiliferous limestone. They quarry a lot of this material in the area southeast of Macon, and it's the primary ingredient in making Portland cement. And Portland cement is a primary binding agent for all the concrete we use. So think about all the cement we use for building foundations, for roads. So it's just a huge industrial material that we all depend on. All right, we're going to move westward across the state and get into areas that are underlain by igneous and metamorphic rocks. We're getting into different type of rocks, but they give us different resources. Here's one of them, okay? This is the granite that's quarried at Elberton, Georgia. And Elberton describes itself as the granite capital of the world. So what do we do with granite? Well, you can crush it up for road materials, for road foundations. But at Elberton, the big use they have there is to saw it into blocks, polish it up, and create little slabs that are used for monuments. And that's tombstones in the industry terminology. Okay? So tombstones, building facing material. So this has been sawed and polished. You see it has a real nice sheen to it there. So not only do they quarry granite and process it at Elberton, but they also bring granite in from all over the country and process it. So it's a major industry. Now also in that region of igneous and metamorphic rocks, we have another famous Georgia product, and that's marble. And the raw material might look something like this. You can see it has a nice crystalline texture. This is what happens to limestones when they get heated up, and the calcium carbonate or calcite recrystallizes into this sort of a rock. Okay? And here's a polished version of one that they like for building material. It has these nice streaks in it. You can see a part that hasn't been polished here. It's been sawed but not polished, in the polished version here. So it makes beautiful material for decorative stone and buildings, but also it goes again into monuments. That's the tombstone industry and statue material. So Georgia's famous for its marble. Now, they also take some of their very white marble and they have underground mines where they dig this material out and they pulverize it, and it goes into a variety of products. And one of those particular products is grinding that powder up and using it to line your ball fields. So the stripes you see on your football fields, the boundaries, may come from Georgia marble as well. And this is actually mined underground. Another common use for it, marble is made of calcium carbonate. And if you have a bad case of acid indigestion, you might take a Tums. That material is made of calcium carbonate that probably came out of a Georgia mine. Or the white powder on your chewing gum wrappers, that's also Georgia calcium carbonate. So all kinds of uses. All right, we're going to head a little farther west, and we're going to cross into a different region over around Cartersville. And all of that area is underlain by old sedimentary rocks. It's what we call the Valley and Ridge Province. Now, Cartersville, if you went back into the 1800s, mined iron ore. And they mined it from surface mines, and they even had underground mines in Cartersville. And this is what that material looks like. You see these brown and reddish brown types of rocks, really kind of ugly rocks. Okay? And they'll sometimes stain your hands yellow or brown. This mineral is called goethite, and it's a hydrous iron oxide. That was one of the materials they were mining at Cartersville, and they actually still mine it today, but for a different use. There's a company called the new Riverside Ore Company, and they mine goethite, but it goes all for pigment use. So you grind that material up after you clean it up, and it makes your classic yellow to yellow-brown pigment. So your foundation makeups that you ladies might wear, or use that. Any yellow paint, where it's on a building or coating your pencils, yellow-brown pigment that goes into masonry work, all that comes from some of that Cartersville goethite. Okay? I mentioned barite because they also mine barite. the same area. This mineral, okay, is barium sulfate, and barium is a super heavy element, okay? This thing really weighs a lot, okay? So this is a mineral barite. Barite has specialty uses because it's a very dense mineral, okay? One use is in a specialty concrete called radban, and they use this to make the bunkers that they store radioactive waste in because the radiation can't penetrate the barite in there. So you have barite as chunks all through that particular concrete in there. Barite is also used in your glass screens and your computer monitors, TVs, and things like that to reduce some of the radiation coming out of the screen at you. If you're having gastric problems in your stomach or intestines, doctors may run something called a GI series or gastrointestinal series. And they will give you a special milkshake that has barite in it. You drink that because it's very dense. It'll pass through your system very quickly, and they'll trace that with an X-ray unit. And if it stops somewhere, you know you've got some kind of blockage in your stomach or your intestines. Okay? So that's another use for some of our Georgia mineral products. So to kind of sum it up, you know, they're not glamorous, okay, but they are things that we all use every day. You know, it's not like having very fancy gold or silver jewelry, okay, but they're products that we all depend on, and Georgia is a major producer of those industrial minerals.